I am Feel It.
And I am Fix It. And we talk about life.
And stuff and things.
With the occasional rant.
Which you will have no problem doing.
Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Good night. Whatever it is, wherever you are, we hope you're having a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of these days, just to mix it up, you should say hi.
Oh. Yeah, maybe one of these days. That's what you want me to do.
Sure, why not?
We'll mix it up like that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. It's a particularly odd day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Starting to not feel right again. Waves of that coming and going. Weird weather.
Yeah.
Weird routine changes.
Yeah.
Time change. Everybody
last
talks about
week was
that.
a time change.
Everybody talks about that. And there's truth to that.
There is, yeah. Your circadian rhythms aren't matching up with the clock. And then, last night, it was warm when I left, and then we got just torrential downpour for 5 minutes. And then it just rained for a while. And then it's just kind of been wet and cool and windy, and had the windows open, which is nice, but there's a part of my brain that's still expecting at least one more snow.
Yeah, it's tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's called Fake Spring.
Yep.
Ever heard of it?
Yep. We'll be on our third one.
Real spring is not here yet.
Yeah, how'd that go? There are 4 seasons. Winter, almost winter, not quite winter, and construction.
To be fair, in a conversation with a client yesterday, when she said that she's from India,
mm-hmm.
and they have 5 seasons. The 5th one is monsoon season.
Yes.
We don't have that.
No, we don't.
We don't have that. So, perspective.
Yeah, we don't have monsoon season. We don't have hurricane season. We don't have typhoon season. We don't have tornado season.
Yes, we do.
No, well, not...
Just not like Midwest.
Not really.
Oklahoma.
If a tornado hits anywhere around us, it's in the news cycle for quite a while. Because it's a rarity. It happens.
Sure.
But it's a rarity.
There's been some pretty devastating ones in the last few years. But the point was...
But devastating here...
Perspective.
Yeah, it's perspective. Yeah. So, the weird weather that we deal with, I'll take it.
Which is...
It's not that bad.
Not kind to me, but...
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, but if you go where the weather's stable, it's hot or it's freezing.
I know. There's no balance.
There's always... It's like Michigan has the most amount of swing that I've experienced, but it doesn't have the extremes.
I just feel it.
Yeah.
That's all. Just feeling it today.
Yeah, I do too.
On and off the last few weeks, really.
But differently.
I really got to me this week.
I can believe it. And the pollen count, the pollen count, the air quality alert is a little on the high side.
Not having our windows open today probably wasn't the most spectacular idea, but the house was getting kind of warm and stuffy. So
yeah, but it is kind of nice to have the breeze coming through.
It's nice, yeah. Without the rain,
yes,
we couldn't have had the windows open.
Very much so. I've enjoyed it. It's been a nice, more or less nice day.
It has, even with the. The cloudy gloominess doesn't really bother me. That doesn't get to me at all.
I'm good with that.
But speaking of the swings and the things, and you kind of didn't land on a place of something to talk about. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, I could talk about the swings and the things. And
sure,
a little bit of perspective that I gained this week.
Okay.
And it's one thing if our listeners haven't gathered, I don't take a lot of the work home with me. I mean, yeah, there's just some things that will sit with me and some things that will come to me. I do think of and pray about my clients, and then I have to do some research for some and to just be more prepared or to provide them better resources. So some things will have to come back up, but for the most part, I can put it away and I'm good.
Yeah.
And then the last few weeks, I've had some new clients and some things come up, and the way that they do, you've got to gauge how are you going to reach the client and it'd be the most beneficial. And I've talked about EAP, Employee Assistance Program.
Yes.
Those are programs where they're only allotted so many sessions. I've contracted with a few companies to be able to provide these services. Their employers purchase these policies. They provide the policies to the employees. I contract with the companies to be a counselor. They're getting minimal amounts of sessions.
Yeah.
5, 8 at the most.
It's enough to get them
something.
Yeah, it's kind of I think there's a lot of times counseling and things like that. You do most of the work on your own, but you need sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees. And you need that, sometimes something's wrong and you can ID the trigger, but not necessarily why your response is what it is. And I think that's where having a neutral outside observer kind of points you in the right direction. Okay, this I think is what you need to work on based on what you're telling me and what I'm seeing. Give them, basically, okay, that's the direction you need to go. This is what you need to focus on. Here you go. And then you help them through that until the session's end, But in the end,
I've talked a little bit about it, but yes, to your point, yes. But what you're missing is kind of that rapport building stage. If you're going to do it and get a lot out of it, you're diving in.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You got to dive in. That's where it gets gritty.
Yeah, that's where the EAP thing is definitely tricky because you've got to do it condensed.
Yeah.
You got to.
And what is effective condensed? And then clearly, if they need ongoing, they need ongoing. Yes. But what could be condensed and what could their client receive? What have you?
And hopefully in the process, you figure out it's like, you know what, this is going to be something you're going to need some help working on for quite a while. You might want to set something up long term.
There's been a few. Yeah, I could say that out of the gate. Like maybe second session, say, okay, I really feel like we're going to be able to unpack so much. If you want to continue with me, you're welcome to do that. But we'll see where we can go. Because, by severity of symptoms and conversation. Well, yes, come to find out by second session, a woman drops way more stuff. And yep, okay, we were all on the right track here, but thank you for sharing that because that makes more sense. Some heavier things with grief and change and fertility. I've ran the gamut the last few weeks, but I haven't felt well. I've had just a strange cycle of that neuralgia, facial neuralgia pain. And even in this process of trying to take more naltrexone, do this step up, it's like, okay, I'm like halfway to what he would say would be the max, and I'm not feeling anything yet, and I'm certainly not feeling anything. But I've had episodes. I had some significant enough episodes in front of clients that was like, yeah, there's no hiding this. When they ask you if you're feeling well, are you okay enough to finish? It's not what the focus should be. Of course, the goal is never that a client is more worried about you than they are themselves.
Well, and there could be something to using that to kind of disarm them a little bit. It's like people tend to...
I'm human too?
Yeah, well, no, it's easier to let your guard down when you're helping someone else than it is when you're trying to let someone help you.
Sure.
So it's like, it's not everybody, but some people, it's like if you give them the opportunity to help you, then they open up.
The voice catch, that's probably the worst. That's the hardest one you're not going to come back around from that because sometimes it'll sound like I'm having a stroke when I'm trying to force it.
I just trip over my own tongue.
The twitch, the eye twitch, the
yeah. I get one right here.
The squint.
And it just drives
from
me
the
nuts.
pain.
Thankfully, mine doesn't hurt. It's just irritating.
The squint that will come from the pain, and then the muscle contractions and things in my face. I've been doing the eye drops, so sometimes that can be a little irritating, and then that'll cause its own little cycle.
Sure.
Let's just say there's been some things I couldn't physically hide.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And quite a bit in the last 2 weeks, more than quite some time.
Well, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, environmental changes are definitely making things more active. And
then when you have a full load of clients, it's not like you have a lot of rebound time.
No.
You just got to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had that. And I'm blessed to have that. But there are times that even through a screen, in a virtual session, a telehealth session, a client can see that my eyes are squinty. Or there was one night I had that lamp behind you. It's too bright. We've got to get different bulbs, by the way. I had to flat out shut it off and say, I'm really sorry. It's dark right now. I apologize. We don't have the right bulb for this lamp, and I just can't play with it anymore. Yes, I'm having some migraine symptoms right now. And it was later in the evening. It's not like I could have opened the curtain for natural light. So, she just kind of laughed and it was fine. But there are these moments that these are the things that a few years ago I dreaded and really beat myself up for. I didn't know what it was going to look like. I didn't even want it to have to be a thing. I've talked a lot about the darkness, right? That phase of time that I had to go through to appreciate. I wasn't doing such a great job of it, but it was a process to learn to appreciate. And it's not about the compare and contrast where this person has it worse, and then you take the focus off of your own needs. That's easy to do. We all do that.
Yeah.
I work all day in a capacity where I am the support for other people. Mm-hmm. There's a gift to that. There's a beauty to that I take very seriously. And I'm going to answer for what I do and don't say. I take that very seriously.
Yes.
Not just in a secular, in the world, legal, ethical sense, but I mean at the throne of Jesus. I'm going to answer one day for the things I say or don't say. Mm-hmm. So I take that very seriously for what it is.
Yes.
And the vast majority of my clients are seeking Christian integrative counseling. They're seeking faith-based counseling, Christ-centered counseling.
Yeah.
So
which is why they pick you.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Even with the EAP, they might not, have a choice technically, but I found more and more of them recently that seem to be okay with it.
Yeah.
Or they had thought it and it just wasn't spoken to me ahead of time. But regardless.
Sure.
I've had a few flashbacks and had a few moments in the last few weeks kind of remembering all the dread and the shame and the embarrassment and the frustration that I went through not really all that long ago. And in the scheme of sharing, when you disclose to a client, it has to, first of all, it has to be purposeful, and then it can't detract from them, right, and a client's needs. But I have found that there have been the moments, even when I didn't want to say something, I felt prompted to say something, and there was a whole different light placed on something, and it would allow them to be more vulnerable, open up this, say that. It was helpful, even when I didn't want to have to go there, and especially in the last few weeks. As I shared, it was very interesting to see on one of the intake forms, is like the questions asked, if somebody has conditions or medications, and to see that somebody has trigeminal neuralgia. Well, I can't just have a flat out conversation. Hey, what's that like for you? Because it sucks. I can't really do that. I can't go into all the things.
No.
Can't go into the brain surgery and the stuff. But
no.
But she knows.
You can when it's appropriate, but the goal.
Let's just say it hasn't been there.
Yeah, the focus is the client, not you.
Correct.
But sometimes in order to get the client to open up, you got to share a little.
There's been one client that came out with that it was helpful. Mm-hmm. That because of her chronic pain issues to like really get across. I said more. I always say more than I can ethically tell you. I can appreciate what you are going through. Yeah, this is your journey. I've had mine. Mm-hmm. There's enough elements that I can tell you. I can finish their sentences. They get it. They know. Mm-hmm. They don't ask. They respect, but they get it.
Yes. Which.
Yeah. It wasn't that client, but for the purposes I'm talking about, even when, she's had to cancel because of migraine. And then there was one evening that I did look not so great recently, and it was obvious. It's just that obvious look, when somebody doesn't feel well. And again, you can see it through a screen. So mm-hmm. I had a few moments where I realized, even in remembering the shame and the frustration and all the places I've come from, and I'm not saying I still don't have the frustration, because I do. Not so much the guilt or shame or anger, really. The gift. And ironically, I won't get on the nuances of how it came out, but in this client explaining some of the things that are important to her, and her fitness being important, and that concern about how she was prioritizing it with her children, and not having them full time. And we were discussing that. There is that balance that needs to be had, but clearly fitness is important. It is. And once you've grasped that, you grasp that. Some people just have that ability to prioritize it more, I guess you'd say. The drive, the will, the opportunity, what have you, because I have failed miserably in that in the last week. But as I was struggling one day, kind of with some of the jolts, if you could, it's so hard to describe. Sometimes it feels like bee stings, like multiple, over and over again in your face. And then other times it feels like there's always some degree of battery hooked up. If you've ever put your tongue on a battery, on a 9-volt battery, like everybody's done as a kid, right? That odd feeling that just, there's like a current going through your face, if you can imagine that. Most of the time primarily left, but yes, has become bilateral. So there is essence of it on the right. And I had a dentist appointment Thursday evening. I had a cleaning. They're never pleasant. They haven't been pleasant in a long time. But then Friday morning, first thing when I had to go in, I was struggling. I was struggling a little, and sitting there thinking, and it was interesting as my client's talking to me, and it's a focused energy to have a focus on somebody talking for an hour at a time. And you got to be present every moment they are talking. Mm-hmm. No matter what's going on with you. Yep. And the thought crossed my mind of that conversation I'd had with that client a few weeks ago while I'm talking to a different client about the will that somebody needs to have to be able to move forward with the things that have meaning and value. And then my brain shot through multiple snapshots of memory at the same time. Remember, a client's talking to me all at the same time, and I have to focus on what they're saying as well. And I did a fine job with that, believe it or not. But I would not have been able to process. This is all going to make sense in a second, I hope. The ability to be able to function with the level of pain I have had for as long as I have had it in different degrees. The severity, there's like a history there that is just so hard to explain. that if it was not, and I've talked about this before, but it's come to me at such a different realization, that if I had not learned how to do it, strength training, I would not have been able to get through the last week specifically, but Friday morning more specifically. I was bad. There was a couple moments there I thought, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. But it was like this, God brought me the memories and the moments that here I am talking to clients about the same thing I have learned. I have learned to be truth about will and the ability to move forward. And I'm not just talking about reaching goal. I'm not talking about like the reaching the goal for the thing. I'm talking like just to live, to function, to have a life.
Yeah.
I did that. I did that when I didn't even realize what I was doing, because it's important to be able to breathe and move and be completely mindful and aware of yourself when you're underneath an incredibly heavy bar. Okay. And yes, you build up to a point, but right from the get-go, when you don't know how you're going to feel doing it, and I learned to tell myself I knew it wasn't going to hurt me. It wasn't going to hurt me. I already hurt. That doing that thing wasn't going to hurt me. It's a mental game. It really is. But I had to usher back some of that, like I haven't had to in a while. And it's interesting. It's a blessing. It's a blessing to be able to kind of put it all together, because I didn't know what I was training myself to do, and now here I am doing it. Technically, I'm doing it right now, even as I'm talking. I feel these like jolts coming across my cheek, and it's maddening, and it makes my eye feel like it's gonna explode. It's awful. It's absolutely awful. There aren't words for it. And I was talking to our chiropractor. I had an appointment earlier this week. It was actually Wednesday, and he had mentioned, he just asked me if I was feeling okay, and I didn't lie to him. I'm like, I'm not. I'm having a rougher day, and I'm not really looking forward to what you're about ready to do to me. He's so kind. Because he actually has a client whose wife has the same condition, full trigeminal neuralgia. Mine, that was the initial diagnosis. It's morphed into other things, but I do have the essence of trigeminal neuralgia. Yeah,
bilateral, non-idiopathic facial nerve pain, if I remember correctly.
Facial pain and neuralgia.
Yeah.
Yep. So he was talking to me a little bit about that. When he was reading up on it to try to understand, and they call it the suicide disease. And I said, yes, they do. And there's a reason for that. There is a reason for that. I can't say I was ever at that point, but I could see how you get there.
Yep. Well, and I think I don't think it's necessarily just the pain, which is extreme. It's a short-circuited nerve. It's like it's just firing for no dang good reason. Awful. So everything is just amped up to 11. Awful. But, pardon me. I've had some psychology classes, as you're aware, and they were talking about how statistically manic depressives have a very high suicide rate. Well, it's not manic depressive. It's now bipolar
1 and 2.
Yeah, 1 and 2.
Different
but
characteristics.
If you're not familiar with that, then people are familiar with manic depressive, where you have highs and lows, and you have these long cycles of highs and lows. And a good statistically, suicides in that group happen during a manic phase, not when they're in a depressive phase. And it's not because they feel bad. It's because they're expecting to feel bad and they don't want to be there again. And the pain itself sucks. Pain always sucks. That's why it's pain. It's supposed to suck. But it's not just the pain. It's the knowing it's coming and not knowing when it's coming. That expectation of the pain is, can be worse than the pain itself in some cases.
Which was what I was describing.
In generalities. I mean, I can't say.
You don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know the triggers. There's no way to just make yourself have relief.
Nope.
But eventually, when you learn that, and you really do. It takes a minute when you understand that you're not harming yourself. Those triggers are what they are, and they're not consistent.
Nope.
And
and some of them's like, how are you supposed to?
The severity isn't consistent.
Yeah,
how that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you might have this. I might incite the reaction, but the severity isn't going to be the same every single time.
Yeah. Well,
and you could live in a constant state of anxiety and frustration about that, and anger, and all the emotions you could imagine, the spectrum of emotions. I certainly had them. Or you learn to deal with it. And I had no idea what I was teaching myself to do and what that would mean for my life, because there was, to this date, there has yet to be that same what's the word I'm looking for? I can't describe when you're going to squat, which was always the hardest on me, and I understand a little bit more about that physiological response now. I've learned more in that in the last several months. But there's nothing more amazing in the world to be able to move that kind of weight and feel good about yourself and feel strong and feel capable when you feel so awful, so god awful, indescribably awful. And yet you could still make yourself do it. You can kind of liken it to maybe having a child, sure, but it's not the same thing.
Yeah, you don't have the same hormones.
It's not the same thing.
Yeah, you don't have the same hormones dumping to make you forget that.
And that memory, there was the memories that kind of came to me. It made me sad, made me a little melancholy, because I can't do that again. I won't be able to do that again. It's just not in my best interest, and I understand that. But learning how to do it was phenomenal.
And it did help you get through some recovery.
It sure as hell did.
Over the course of the last couple of years, yeah.
It sure as hell did. And I'm trying to get to a place of functional strength, because that was very real.
Yes, most definitely.
Very, very real. But I had those moments. I've had so many of them, especially in the last week. And yesterday was that experience. It was an older couple I'm counseling, and I thought, man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. But God is good. And the memories came to me, and I made it through it, and I had one more after that was also hard in and of its own way. Newer client. Been going through some very real things that I just had to keep. You got to keep it. You got to bring that focus around. You got to be present. You got to be there. The clients know when you're not. Yep. I know when doctors aren't in on it. I know it.
Oh yeah.
Excuse me. When any medical professional, any clinician, any professional, you can tell when their head's not in the game.
Yep.
And that is important to me. It's important to be able to always put my best foot forward, and it made me think, I hope it doesn't get worse than this. I mean, it'd be nice if it could level off a little. I know we weren't going to know what season change was going to look like. The severity of summer, intense humidity and heat and all that stuff that has traditionally not been kind to me. It's hard to say what that's going to look like. Hopefully we can get a little bit more under control before the worst of that comes. But it's humbling. It's been humbling the last few weeks that my clients have still entrusted me, and all the things I feared. That yes, they were all these worst case horrible scenarios, but they were my feelings, and that was real, and that process that I've had to go through. now because I've had a few years to do this as an intern and now as a practicing clinician. I can't say how much longer I'll have these issues. I don't know, and probably always will. And even if I don't, I have to have the mindset that there is no cure-all. There is no magic pill.
Unfortunately, yeah.
There is no magic button.
Nope. Not usually, anyway. Yeah. Yeah.
I was supposed to be free and clear to. It was like so long on certain med to then start trying like things I'd been avoiding, like foods I'd been avoiding, and
sure.
I admit I kind of probably shouldn't have jumped in with a little slice of pie and
it was good pie.
A couple like chunks of cookies.
Yeah, it was
probably
good pie.
Shouldn't have done that.
It's very good pie.
I wanted to start with a hamburger.
Costco, man. Like, those pies are huge.
Not yet a sponsor.
Also true, but those pies are huge.
Well, it was Pie Day.
Yeah.
How could I not?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
come on.
Yeah.
Got to do it.
I mean, you don't have to. But yeah, no,
it's pretty well eaten for, not having to. But
didn't have to, but it's there, and I'm going to eat it.
But I, I don't feel as horrible as I would have in the past, even for that small amount of things I shouldn't have eaten. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You got gluten, you got egg, you got cornstarch, you got who knows how many corn ingredients. A lot.
I can think of at least 3 big ones that would be right off the top, but
not exactly things I consume frequently.
No, not at all.
I don't feel as horrible. Yeah, I feel a little icky, but but taking it slow.
Mm-hmm.
Taking it slow.
Definitely don't want to overdo it.
Not diving in.
No, definitely want to. Yeah.
And that was a fluke. Did not plan on that.
No.
So then I don't do the hamburger right now. I'm going to wait another week for that.
Sure.
That's okay.
That's
right.
That's fine. That's okay. We can do burgers. I never had a problem doing burgers.
I wanted to try a little hamburger. I know it sounds weird. That's what I wanted to try.
Mm-hmm. I'm good with that.
Just seeing the pattern. Being grateful.
Mm-hmm.
That what we're going through in a time that might just seem the most heart-wrenching, god-awful. And I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm saying if you can be open to allowing for those things to be worked for his good, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the ultimate, as if you are a believer in Christ, that's what that is. That's what faith is. That's faith in action.
Yep.
And I have certainly felt that. And I think there's a reason for the memories I've had and the thoughts I've had.
Yeah.
Because these were the fears and the concerns and the issues that I'd had going into it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what was it going to look like? And nowhere near as bad as I would have thought, actually.
Which is a good thing. Which is a very good thing.
It's a good thing.
All good things. All good things.
We're going to squirrel it. I started watching another show because it's like binge season apparently around this house.
Sure.
What the heck was that called?
I don't know.
But it had him in it. It had Josh Gad. And
yeah.
It was something about a wolf or something. I don't know, man. I started watching it with our oldest, and
I caught glimpses. I have no idea.
I'm intrigued. You got me. I'm going to keep watching, and hopefully there'll be that third season. But I was like, it's hard. It's hard to see him. And
yeah, it's like he's
just always going to be Olaf. Sorry.
Yeah.
Just throwing
when
that
you
out there.
use your normal voice to voice a character, you're just anytime somebody hears your voice, they're gonna think you.
And believe it or not, I don't watch a lot of movies. So these, it's you gotta binge episodes, right? Like that's the point. You sit down and avoid life and work and the things you're supposed to do by binging. That's kind of been a thing around here.
Yeah, but I mean...
Are you looking it up?
Yes.
I mean, it's interesting so far.
Yeah, I'm just...
But anyway.
Wolf like me.
There we go. Thank you. Yep.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
I'm gonna guess, since they haven't made any since 2023, it could be...
I looked it up, and the third season has not yet been... what's the word I'm looking for? Words are hard today.
It's been 2 years. You might have to write it off.
Affirmed or
confirmed.
Thank you. But it's not dead yet. Like, they haven't completely axed it. So hard to say. Sorry for that silence. I was listening to a lot of noises at once because the window is still open and there's motorcycles and car alarms and sirens and all kinds of things all of a sudden.
Yeah, it was a backup beeper, I think.
And what on earth was that? I don't think they were all related. Just sounds of the summer. And well, it's not summer yet.
There's a number of roads that are kind of main drags, but 45, 4-lane, with a turn lane for a good chunk of it. That's probably, like a mile, give or take? It's like a mile to Division. Give or take.
I don't know.
And
I think it's a little further, but
I can hear motorcycles and sometimes cars that are just going absolutely ape out there. And I can hear them fade in and fade out as they're going by.
Sounds of the summer.
Oh, yeah. And it's like, that's a busy chunk of road to be going that dang fast.
There's the sirens again. Sorry.
Yeah.
This is a squirrel moment.
This
is what happens when I don't feel well. Yeah. And you get me behind a microphone.
Sure. Well, see, and I think it's like I had the thought occur to me that there's some carryover to what you experience, just to other aspects of life. You've had to figure out how to function with physical pain. Like a lot of us do. It's like my back has never been, my lower back has not been great for a really long time. Basically as long as my oldest has been alive. It's been, it's like I've been dealing with it. I mean, for the most part, I'm fine, but every now and again, I do something stupid. And, and I've had broken bones and strains, sprains, burns, injured muscles, more bruises and impacts than I care to talk about. And there's something about learning to think beyond the plane and function anyway. I mean, you're not denying the pain exists, but you don't always have to let the pain be the rudder for your actions. And, and there is debilitating pain. There is pain that stops you in your tracks. It makes it impossible to function. Not talking about the 8, 9s, and 10s. Those are they're just like you're not functioning at that point.
No, I'm talking about the off the chart.
Yeah. We're talking about this, the stuff that just stops you dead in your tracks. I've had a few of those, but there's a lot of people out there that have chronic pain that they just have to. They've had to figure out how to drive through anyway. And a lot of times we have sympathy for that. The person with the bum shoulder, the bad knee, or they need the hip replacement, or, the late stage arthritis. And it's like, you can have some sympathy for that. It's like, hey, how are you still going? Like your aunt she's a professional seamstress with really bad arthritis.
Mm-hmm.
But she's still doing it. Mm-hmm. And she finishes a lot of stuff. She doesn't, as she puts it, I don't do much hand stuff anymore. I bought a good machine so I don't have to. Mm-hmm. But she still does do some hand, she does some finish work by hand. It's like, but she has to meter it out. It's like, I can't do that much. So I have to make sure if I'm doing it, I'm doing it efficiently and I'm doing it when I need to do it, not when it's like, I have to do it like that. It's not an option. But in a lot of ways, she had to figure out a way to function regardless. And it seems to be pretty easy for people to go, have some sympathy for that. To give some accommodation for that. And I think that's because I think everybody can relate to being injured at one point or another. It's like, yeah, okay, I broke my toe and it was hard to walk for like a month, sprained an ankle, bruised a knee, whatever, we can all relate to that kind of pain. I don't think it's as common for people to give that same level of courtesy and sympathy to people that are dealing with debilitating types of emotional pain.
So true.
And in a lot, physiologically speaking, it is as real as physical pain. Now, the root cause typically is not rooted in a physical condition, but man, life is a physical condition, and life causes some emotional trauma, and there's sometimes where that just lingers, and we don't always have the same level of consideration, I think. And at the same time, there are healthy ways of learning how to function through what you're going through. And that can be tricky because you don't have the same kind of support. I mean, nowadays, there's people like you, professional counselors, there's, all kinds of things out there, but it's something extra. It's not, if I hurt myself and I go to work, it's automatic accommodation. People are going to take care of it. It's like, we're going to figure it out. If I was dealing with a similar kind of thing, but it was purely an emotional based thing, like at best, I would think that a good chunk of people would just give me a wide berth and let me do what I got to do. Not necessarily give. No, and I'm not saying I work with people that wouldn't help me if I asked for it. It's like if you see somebody that with a limp, you automatically go, "Hey, what's going on? What can I do for you?" If you see somebody that's like tight and withdrawn and in a way that they aren't usually, you just give them a wide berth. You don't, it's not the same kind of, hey, what's going on? You look, something's going on. What's going on? What can I help? Is there something I can help you with? Some people share, but.
I have the one gentleman who says his employer's been very accommodating, giving him the extra time for, lunch one day a week to come to counseling. And he did have to be honest about some things just because of
sure
scheduling. But,
sure.
Yeah, not everybody feels safe telling their employer.
No, anything. I mean, I've got, like, my direct boss and my partner in crime that I work with. If I got something going on, I can tell him what's going on. It's fine. It's like he's, but at the same time, he is also very old school. And it's like, okay, all right. It's like, all right, what do you need from me? It's like, nothing. Okay, well, we got work to do. Let's get busy. Which, we're guys and we're fixers, and sometimes the best thing that you can do is take your mind off it for a little while.
Yeah.
And it's not necessary, it's not tamp it down and avoid it until it manifests as mental illness, but sometimes it's like, you know what? Like, there's nothing I'm going to do that's actually going to improve this situation. Let's go accomplish something. Let's go get elbows deep in something Or, sometimes, hey, you know what? We got something made out of metal that needs to get pounded on with a hammer. Let's go do that, Yeah. She's trying to let the dog out. The dog's not leaving. But, I think that's kind of a failing. I think societally we're better at that. But at the same time, I think in some ways we've taken it too far. That people...
It's like the crying rooms at colleges
for
the presidential elections.
There's... In the same way that... Like, okay, that was many, many years ago. I had a really hard impact to my forearm and had some nerve damage. And it was probably 6 months before my left hand worked right. And I don't even know if I told you that I hurt myself, to be honest with you. And...
You don't.
Yeah.
Like, I know that when...
Unless it becomes a problem,
I'm a little fuzzy on that one.
It's like, well, what are
you
going to do? It's like, you're not going to fix it. It's like, if it becomes an issue, I'll let you know to, hey, just be aware, But, I just figured it out, It's like, I figured it out. And, for the most part, it's, okay, it's like, yeah, I'm hurting. Yeah, it's not quite right. I'm going to suck it up and get back to work. I don't feel like it, but I'm an adult. I don't have to feel like it. I can just do it. I can choose to do it instead of feel like doing it, which is usually the better option. And I think in some ways we've done a really good job about acknowledging, let's just say emotional pain. I don't want to say trauma. It's an overused word, unfortunately. It's become too broad.
Emotional imbalance. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
pain.
Like just pain. It hurts.
Grief lasts more than the 3 days your employer's going to give you to take off.
Yes.
For a funeral.
Yeah. Well, and if it's somebody that matters to you, that grief lasts a lifetime.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
3 days.
But
maybe 5.
I think there's others that have taken it to the extent it's like when you have a little kid with a paper cut, they can't do anything. They're just completely done. They can't do anything. And people use the slightest bit of an emotional issue as an excuse to just completely break down and be, I don't want to say useless, but just withdraw. It's like,
not being able to function in the capacity they were used to.
Well, no, I mean, not even like the safe space thing. It's like, your words offended me, and now I need a special place where I can be just left alone, and you can't talk to me like that.
Okay, that's different.
Yeah, but that's the extreme in the other direction. There's like so super sensitive to everything that nothing really matters because it's all a big deal. And then you have at the far end of it's like there's no such thing as a big deal, suck it up and move on. The old rub some dirt on it and get back out there.
Yeah, which is what we were raised with.
To a pretty fair extent, yeah. It's like there's in the middle. There's a healthy in the middle, and everybody's is going to be different because we've all got our own experiences and tolerances and all that fun stuff. But it's like, you can't, in the same way that you shouldn't, like, be in denial about physical discomfort and pain, you shouldn't be in denial of emotional discomfort and pain. I'm a firm believer in listen to it, but don't let it drive. In the same way that physical pain and discomfort, it's like, listen to it, but don't let it drive. Be smart. It hurts for a reason. And then deal with the reason. just a parallel, I guess. I don't know. My brain was kind of going there when you were talking about that.
No, it's true.
I try not to stray from your. I try to focus on your speech while you're speaking.
Thank you.
But my brain is kind of like a train yard. There's a million tracks. They're all interconnected, and it doesn't always make sense unless you really spend a lot of time there. But
well, of course, I agree with you. Yes, the spectrum has definitely increased, but it's still wide, and the extremes are interesting. But the safety that you have telling an employer is still paramount, especially if your treatment is going to affect your work performance. Like this man who's in the, when I started seeing him was in the midst of trying to redo some of his pharmaceutical intervention. He's fallen asleep. He's exhausted. And they're kind of laughing about it at work, but that's dangerous, man.
Yeah.
Like, you can't be doing that. You can't be driving like that. You can't be trying to function like that.
No.
You have kids, young kids, like, buddy.
And
he knows it. He's doing his best to figure that out, but not everybody has a work environment where it could be laughed about.
Yeah.
And, all right, just do what you can and let me know what I can do for you. Or even the environment for you, like you've just described. You couldn't get away with that. You could not fall asleep at work.
Well.
And people just laugh at you. And
okay, to
it's
be
all
fair,
good.
It would depend. In all honesty, it would depend. My cohort, he is my senior by 10 years. He's like 10 years older than me. He's been doing the work that we do longer than I've been doing by way more than 10 years. He was a teenager rebuilding transmissions. I mean, it's like the dude's mechanical. But he has, it's like we kind of crack a joke. He has computer screen narcolepsy. If he sits down to do paperwork,
it's over.
It's over. It's like, he's literally, unless it's really busy, if he's sitting down doing paperwork, I can guarantee I will walk by his desk and he's out. He's sitting there kind of half hunched with his hand on the mouse and the keyboard. I can't believe
you're saying this for everybody to hear.
And it's like, it's just kind of what's up? And it's just like a half doze because he's like there and then somebody walks by and what do you need? And so it's like we do kind of have that, but that's at our desks in our area on our computer out of kind of sight of everybody. And it's like we have our days. There's times where you're just like, okay, as long as it's not out on the equipment where bad things can happen, it's not a big deal. So it does have, we have in our group, we have that kind of, it's like, okay, you know what? Not a big deal. We're good. We make sure he's like, are you good? You're it's like, yep, okay, all right. Then, like, just let me know if you need anything. And he's one of those guys, like, nope, I need to not be here. Okay, get out of here, go home, bye, or stay home. So I mean, I do. I say all of that.
Yeah, all of that.
Just to say, it's like I am lucky that I do kind of have that kind of. Now, there's only so much that my department can do.
Well,
in that level of
accommodation. Their mental health issue is their employer.
Yeah,
they are the cause of the pain and the symptoms. Yeah. So that's different.
Yeah. I saw this. It popped into my head. I saw this meme, and it's like my manager asked, "Why don't you ever talk to us about about your work problems?" It's like you don't complain about your malaria to the mosquito that bit you.
Oof, that sums that up.
So yeah, but if your work is causing you that level of issue, you need to rethink your profession.
Also true.
Like, I've told our girls and I've told their friends that you don't have to like your job. You don't have to like your job. You should be good at it. You should always do it to the best of your ability. And there should be aspects of it that you enjoy. But you don't always have to like your job. But it shouldn't be costing you. It shouldn't make you miserable. It shouldn't cost you your mental health. It shouldn't cost you your health. If it does, you need to change jobs. You need to go somewhere else. You need to figure something else out. Because it's not worth it. It's like your job is what you use to pay for your life. It shouldn't cost you your life. Or your quality of life.
Yes.
And it's like, I guarantee I don't always like my job. There are days where it just ticks me off. And I get that because it's a job. There's a reason you pay me to do it. But I'm not at a place where I feel... I'm not emotionally compromised. I occasionally get upset because stupid is as stupid does. That's a long... you know what I mean? It's like,
I just don't even have it in me to tell you that wasn't okay. Like if you work with enough people doing enough stuff, you're going to see the same kind of, I can't believe you just did that again. And I can't believe you just said that again.
Oh, I say it at work.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, I had a kid. He goofed up a machine, jacked it all up. And he started to explain to me why he had to mess the machine up. And I stopped him. It's like, you need to stop right now. There is nothing you're going to say that's going to make this any better. You messed up. The machine's broken. You need to go somewhere else. And he just like,
that's a little abrupt.
You don't get to talk right now. I need to fix this machine and I don't know how I'm going to do it. So you need to be somewhere else. It was a month. Anytime he walked through the department or I walked through that bay, he saw that I was there and his eyes hit the floor and he just kept walking.
I wonder why.
Oh, we had a nice conversation about it later. It's like, okay, this is why I cut you off. You damaged the machine. And you did not have to, and you were trying to tell me you had to do that. You had to break it.
I feel like this is going to become a herd of squirrels, and I just don't know what to do right now.
And there are times, sometimes being nice doesn't work.
I know your story is a point, and I'm sorry. I'm just like, okay, what is happening?
Well, yeah. Anyway, but
I'm glad that you had a conversation with him and explained yourself.
Oh yeah,
and
Oh no, we are fine.
Okay,
we're fine, but there are times when, and I've shared this story with people at work. When I started doing kind of what I do now. Not quite. I was changing out a machine for a new job, and I couldn't get it to close. Couldn't figure out. It was like, I don't know what I'm missing here. And I was new. So I went and got the maintenance guy, and he came over. It's like, oh, well, okay, you took that out, and you put that in. Well, this, you need to flip that switch. Oh. Okay, thank you. And it was a while later. It might have been 6 months. I don't know. Similar situation. I can't get it. It's like, okay, I know we talked about this. I don't remember what did we do? What did we need to do? And he came out and it's like, okay, that to that. We've been here before. This switch right here, you need to turn that from A to B. Oh, that's right. Thank you very much. And that was again, like a couple months later, same thing. It's like, I know it has something to do. What am I missing? And he just didn't say anything. He just walked over, looked at me like I was an idiot, reached over, flipped the switch, and walked away. Didn't say a damn word. And I'm like, oh, hell no, that is never happening again. Not once. This is never going to happen again. And it hasn't. There are times, some people you can just sit there, explain to them, this is what it was, this is why it didn't work, or this is why that broke. And it's the end of it.
Baby,
Other times, you gotta You got to cause a little bit of emotional trauma in order for it to sink in.
Thank you for bringing it back around to mental health. Because I was just getting ready to ask you, baby, I don't know where we went from mental health. So you're saying it's okay to abuse your coworkers to get a point across?
No, that wasn't abuse.
You can cause emotional trauma? Is that the words you just used?
You
just used the words emotional trauma.
I did. I wanted him to feel like 3 inches tall and kind of stupid.
Wow.
Because I'd worked with, I'm not saying this out of the blue. I've worked with him a little bit before. Oh. And he needed to be brought down like 3 pegs.
And that's okay.
And
if
there was no way
to be able to do that and it worked, okay.
You've got to know the audience.
But
some people you can look.
Trauma you're talking about is after you said you didn't like the word trauma. Belittling him to get your point across.
Well, I think I didn't
to humble him.
I did not belittle him. I just stopped him from talking. He's like, nope, you need to not.
Do you feel like he's more humble now?
Not nearly as much as he should be.
Well, then it's going to take something else and maybe not you.
Well, but it was that little bit of, okay, let's deflate the ego a little bit.
I think there's all the points where all of us could get deflated.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I know somebody had said something to me about where did my confidence come from? I said a lot of things.
Usually
it's not any one thing in any one circumstance.
Well,
it's owning it, man. This is what I do. Oh, yeah. It's what I learned to do. Mm-hmm. I am learning to do.
Yep.
I am competent where I'm competent. I'm growing where I'm growing. But I am a good counselor. Mm-hmm. And I will give myself credit for that.
And you've been through some stuff.
To tell my, to say when I don't know, right? And I'll go to a supervisor, which is what I'm supposed to do right now, or talk it out with a colleague, which anybody does at any stage in the game. Because, I mean, there's people that have been doing it for years where we're all just sit around and talk. We do it every other week. We get together and have a meeting and
you kind of need to.
Who's got what going on and how can we be helpful?
Well, and you can't be an expert at everything. And you shouldn't try to be. And if somebody says they are, you really need to be very wary of that individual. People ask, was like, how'd you get good at this? Or and I'll almost always
45, not 25. That's how I got good at this.
Well, there's that. Well, I always tell them the same thing: is I have broken way more stuff than you.
Yeah,
way more stuff than you.
I am way more broken.
I have
people realize.
I have been involved with doing this stuff for so long. I have been involved. I have broken so many things. That I got really good at fixing it. And when I got good at fixing it, I got good at not breaking it anymore. Which is why I can tell you, that's how you mess that up. This is how we fix it, and this is how you avoid it.
Makes sense.
And it's like, and it also, that it's like, yeah, you're being complimentary, and I'm just going to remind you that I'm just a person that messes up. I just got really good at the recovery.
And then it became your job.
And then it became my job. And
it's not like I can sit there and tell a client, I don't know what to do for you. That's not what you do.
So
but sometimes it's just being present more often than not. It's just being present.
Yeah, it's just listening, giving them people a chance to speak and unpack. Because it's not that most people have a inherent understanding of certain things, but until they start saying it out loud, they really can't unpack it. Because when you speak, you also hear yourself, so you're processing it audibly.
Yes.
And that neurological connections, those are completely different. And it, in a way, it helps you it's almost like it's coming from an external source and allows you to process it differently than an internal source, which can help you just gain the perspective you need to get through stuff. But you're not going to just sit in a room and talk to yourself.
A whole lot more to it.
Yeah.
Yes. And we could go on about that.
And we probably will at some point.
But yes, and we always say that could be another episode. Maybe we should go back and listen to those to make some of those episodes. But thank you for bringing it back around to mental health.
Sure.
There were some dead squirrels along that path, but we got there.
Sure.
We got there, and sorry if I sounded mean. you catch me off guard sometimes.
Sure.
With how abrupt you can be. But this is
sometimes you gotta be.
In case you don't anyone would catch on, this is what it's like to be married to somebody on the spectrum. Yeah. Anyway. But anyway. I think we probably should stop it now.
Yeah,
we've brought it back down to a point.
Yes.
And thank you all for hearing me and
Sure.
what I've been through the last few weeks and the memories and the inspiration and the things.
Yeah.
So whatever you can take from that, I hope it's good.
Oh, certainly. Most definitely. I mean, that is the whole point.
That is the whole point.
We're putting it out, you ever wonder, how do these people get through all the crap that they've been through?
Oh, geez.
This is part of our process of getting through all the stuff that we get through. Sometimes we went through it alone. Sometimes we went through it as a couple. Sometimes we did it adversarially. And here we are. And you get to hear it all. And we hope you get something out of it.
Absolutely.
Most definitely. And if not, at least you can sit back and go, at least I'm not those guys.
At least, yes. You could definitely say at least I'm not those guys. And I'd be all right with that.
Be very thankful.
I would take no offense.
No, not at all. Not at all. Well, so.
Yes.
Yes. This is the end of this episode.
Okay. That's probably for the best. And we didn't do an actual sponsor. We got to get better. We're going to get back on track.
Sure.
We're going to figure this out.
Costco makes some big old pies. Just saying.
There. That was our not yet a sponsor today.
Yes. So, I'm Fix It.
I'm Feel It.
We hope you join us in the future.
Until next week.
Y'all have a great one.